Hey, this is Jim at Broadfield. Thanks for joining us for another Broadfield Liquid Lunch and Learn every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to be bringing you a wrap-up of all of the shows and what we're looking forward to in the next year. And we're doing all of our planning now for 2023 in the very near future. I sent out a survey about a week ago to all of our dealers, those who I had the emails for, asking what your marketing plans are for the upcoming year. If there's any special events or anything that you're working on, anything that we need to get on our calendar to make sure that we can assist and ask our vendors for assistance, please reach out to me directly at jim@broadfield.com, and we'd love to take care of that. I am going to be joined in just a moment today by Glen, our workflow sales specialist, who is also on our sales team working remotely out of Texas. He's here in the corporate HQ this week here in New York, joining us for the Broadfield holiday party later on tonight. We're going to start off that celebration with a beer that he brought up from Texas, from Vector Brewing Company. This is a German ale that is smoked. I can smell the smoky aroma. And the best adjective to use would be interesting. It is definitely a little bit different than a lot of beers. If you can take the taste of the ale with that smoky, peated flavor of a good scotch and sweeten that up a little bit, that's exactly what I'm tasting here. Very different, great drink. I could really see smoking this with a really good cigar. Or drinking it even with a really good cigar. Definitely a great choice. But we're going to have Glen join us in just a little bit once we start getting into the Avid hardware. We're going to start off the show talking about Avid Media Composer software. You know Broadfield is your specialist for all products from Avid, and we've always specialized in the video side of that. So we're going to talk today about Media Composer, choosing the right Media Composer license for your customers, and making sure that they have the shared storage and Nexis environment in order to handle all of their production needs. We just set up a brand new page on our Broadfield.com website. If you go to the Avid brand page, there is a link right at the top that walks you through all of the Media Composer options available for your customers. We wanted to launch this page immediately today because there is a promotion running for new customers who want to get a Media Composer Standard or Ultimate subscription. Some of these options will be changing in the new year, but this page is fully updated to help you and your sales team handle all Avid support questions from now through the end of the year. And we know that this is a big renewal time for a lot of Avid customers because there are a lot of customers that are in the renewal cycles right now because they've taken advantage of Black Friday and end of year promotions in the past. Let's start by talking about the specials on these new subscriptions. If you're talking to customers who want to get involved in Media Composer for the first time or add additional seats or licenses, they can choose from either the standard or ultimate subscription and save 20% off now through January 4th. If you have customers who already own a Media Composer perpetual license, then they're going to want to renew their support plans. We have a special on the support plan renewal that we can help extend with you and make sure you maintain all dealer margins. The Media Composer support plan renewal gives them access to all updates and upgrades for another year. I would reach out to your customers with perpetual licenses and ask them if they're ready to renew that annual support plan now. They can actually purchase this renewal today, activate it in their Avid account, and Avid will automatically extend their current term for another 12 months. So if they have a license where that support plan is due to expire in March of 23, they can activate it today to extend that through March of 24. So they can take advantage of end of year promotions. Customers who have the perpetual license can also choose to renew that by cross-grading to a subscription plan. Now, we know Avid's goal is to get everyone who has a perpetual license to get into a subscription plan, and taking advantage of these cross-grade offers is a great way to do that. The Avid Media Composer Perpetual cross-grade to the Ultimate subscription is just $2.99 for a year. But really, the best deal out there is $5.49 for a 2-year cross-grade. So now when you're talking to your customers who already own a Media Composer perpetual license, when you tell them that their two options are renewing their support for $4.99 or cross-grading for a 2-year subscription at $5.49, it really shows how that math is going to give them a great savings. They're basically getting that second year for $50. Now they will be on a subscription model at that point, which means that after that second year, as soon as they stop paying, they lose access to the software. But we have a lot of customers that we know are renewing their support plans annually every year anyway. So now by going to the subscription, they've already been convinced that they're keeping up to date with these Avid tools, and now the math is almost the same. If you have customers who have a Media Composer subscription, you want to make sure that you sell them the proper subscription renewal SKU. When you sell a new subscription to a customer that already has a subscription, it creates a new system ID in the Avid account. They will now have to make sure that they're using the proper system ID and managing their expiration date. That means if their current subscription expires on January 15th of 23, but they activate a new subscription on December 15th of 22, they will have 1 month overlap where they're going to have two licenses, one of which they don't need. By going with the subscription renewal, they can activate the renewal in their account today, and that renewal will extend the term of their current subscription license. They don't need to change system IDs. They can just keep using their Avid software that they know and love. The only drawback right now with this 20% off promotion through January 4th is that the new subscriptions have that 20% off promotion. The subscription renewals do not. So there are customers that are pulling out the calculator, figuring out if they can beat that system. Of course, the perpetual licenses are still available today. And I emphasize the word today. This might not always be the case. Right now, perpetual licenses are still available. Media Composer perpetual license is $19.99. The perpetual license with a dongle is $24.99. One of the first questions I asked Glen when I saw him is, do people still use the dongles? And believe it or not, his answer was yes, they do. Glen was previously with Avid. He's very tied into the Avid world. And we know that there are educational customers, corporate users that want to make sure that that USB key is what is unlocking access to the software itself. And then, of course, Broadfield is your source for all academic specials as well. Transacting an Avid software academic license is super easy. You as the dealer don't need to worry about anything. We order the academic SKUs, whether it's the support plan renewal, the perpetual cross-grade, or new subscriptions or subscription renewals. We have those all available here at Broadfield. You can send your customers directly to Avid's academic page where they can check the requirements. Avid is going to ask for those requirements upon activation. So it's quite simple. If you're selling an academic discounted version to a customer who doesn't qualify for the academic discounted version, Avid is going to tell them they can't activate the software. They will have to get a full retail license in order for that activation to happen. So that's the down low on the Media Composer software that is available today. The next thing I want to do is talk about Avid Storage Solutions. When we talk about the Avid Storage Solutions, we're going to have Glen Seaman, our workflow sales specialist, join us live right here in studio. Hey, Glen.
Hey, Jim. Happy
How
holidays.
are you, man? Thank you so much for sending this. Let me pull you one. So you've had this beer before.
I have. And they do, Vector is a great little brewery. They're doing a lot of things with smoked beer, and you nailed it. It's like a great peated scotch, a nice smoky scotch, and it's a different drink.
It's different. Different is definitely the word to describe it. And
But different good.
And not different good. Not in a bad way at all. In fact, the more I drink it, the more I'm enjoying it because the less different it is. That first sip, you're like, what did I just have? Now you can see that difference. Before we go into the hardware, I saw a question pop up about the software. how many simultaneous users can use the Avid educational versions. So all Avid licensing is based on one individual user, one individual installation. For academic installs, if you're across a classroom, a department, a campus, Avid does have floating license models available. These floating licenses are in packs of 20 and 50 and can be sold very easily to outfit an entire lab, department, or campus for your complete installation. For more information about the floating licenses or any multi-seat deal that you're working on, reach out to your Broadfield sales team. We'll work closely with them and with Glen to make sure that we get you the information you need to quote that properly. And does the beer come in licenses? No, but it does come when you invite this guy on the show, which is the greatest thing about that. Avid Nexis. Avid Nexis Pro Plus is the latest and greatest version of the Avid Nexis Pro. Glen, can you tell us a little bit about what makes it better and different?
Yeah, so it's, they switched the processors on it. They've gone to newer, faster drives, different network connections. So really it was just it's not a replacement. It's not like a new product. It is really just updating the existing product to, the latest and greatest, newer firmware, newer hardware, newer drivers, everything.
Yep.
So that's why it's the Pro Plus.
Absolutely.
It does give you a little bit better performance, a little bit more user capability, but really it's the Nexus Pro that, has been around for a long time that we know and love. It's scalable. You can add, it starts with 40 terabytes. You can add 4 machines together for a total of 160 terabytes. 120 terabytes, great for small work groups, editorial working, some audio work, but it's really just a great little small platform to get you started in a shared storage environment. You still get all the benefits of bin locking and, setting up, sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Maybe the beer's getting me already, but also just setting up user permissions, managing users, mirroring workspaces, all those beautiful, protecting workspaces, all the beautiful things that Nexus does.
Absolutely. And the Nexus Pro Plus is really the perfect introduction into the Avid shared storage solution. Usually what we do when we talk to our dealers is as soon as you're working with a Media Composer, Pro Tools, even Adobe Creative Cloud, when you're working with a production team that is 3, 4 people or more, that's when you can really take advantage of a shared storage workflow. So this works really well in small post-production facilities, houses of worship, even corporate productions, where you're constantly repurposing, recreating, and having different people come in and access these files and access the different production projects throughout the...
Right, and you hit on an important point too, is, Avid Storage has always been initially thought of as you're tying an Avid to it. Avid Storage works with Adobe Premiere just as well. I mean, they've got great hooks into that. So you can have somebody, working, and you can go back and forth. You can have Avid Storage, you can have Avid editors using it, you can have Adobe editors using it. You can move files back and forth.
Yep.
Again, getting into that shared workflow just changes the realm for everybody of not having to shuffle drives around and just having everybody have access to the same content.
Absolutely. And the great thing too is we have a promotion running right now through January 4th that with every Avid Nexis Pro Plus sold, we are giving a free copy of Avid Media Composer Ultimate 1-year subscription. So it's a free license for the Media Composer Ultimate with every Nexis Pro Plus sold. So now for your customers who may be looking to first get involved in that shared storage workflow, this is a great way of sending that message to say, yes, go ahead, bring on a collaborator. We'll give you the software license for a year, and here's the shared storage that allows you both to work together in your production environments. Next, I want to talk about the Avid Nexis Edge, which is Avid's latest solution for post-production workflows.
So Edge is really exciting. They talked about it almost 9 months ago. They did the big unveil for it. Edge allows you to take your existing Nexus platform, whether it be the Nexus Plus, the Nexus Pro, the Nexus Pro Plus, or a Nexus E2 or the F series, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Take that environment, you throw a server on that, and it's the Edge server. And the Edge server opens up the ability for remote editorial proxy workflows. all kinds of really interesting things. The beauty is you're not changing any of your editorial workflow. You're running Media Composer. The only difference is, hey, am I on-prem, physically connected to the Nexus, or am I, working from home and using proxies? It dynamically figures out what you need to do, changes things, and you can even, if we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about it. So in a normal work environment, you've got your Avid editor there. You then tie it to an Avid Nexis, and you've now got collaborative workflow. You throw that server in there, and you get yourself Media Composer Enterprise licenses, and now I can say, you know what? It's about to snow. I want to go home, and I'm going to finish my editorial at home. So I go home, I connect to it through the firewall, I connect to it through a VPN. The Nexus instantly recognizes me, the server starts generating proxies for me, and I can continue my edit and just work from those proxies. When I go back into the office, everything switches back to on the full resolution, and I can continue. The other things you can do with this too is, you can also bring in other folks who are going to use a web browser. So you can have a producer that just uses a web browser interface to look and review your stuff, make some basic editorial comments and things like that. But you also have one other really cool feature, which is to be able to be completely disconnected. Instead of working from the proxies, I can actually download the content. So if I'm working from home and suddenly, oh my God, the storm's really bad, or I'm going to lose power, or I just want to go somewhere else,
Right.
I can download that stuff, go anywhere, work completely disconnected, do all my editorial work. When I reconnect, everything will sync back up. If I've added new content, maybe I imported some stuff that I just, shot, that will all sync back up to the server, and it's literally like just being back in the office.
So it really is a shared workflow solution that allows your editors, your producers, colorists, anyone that needs to get in and access that production can do so very easily with the Nexus Edge deployed.
No, and again, it's so freeing. It's a completely different way of thinking. It's really, it's a big win for Avid. Very excited about this product. We got a lot of questions when it first came out. Now that it's really shipping and available, people are really talking about it and asking about it because it's going to change the way people work and think. So, that's the Nexus Edge. When you start talking about Edge, I mentioned it, you need that enterprise license. So, a few flavors of Media Composer. We're all talking about Media Composer Perpetual, Media Composer Ultimate. Those are great, but in order to work with the Edge, you need, that remote collaboration. You need the distributed processing, which is what that server is bringing. So you can take a Media Composer Ultimate and you can start adding those features to it. You can kind of see that, 688 here, 199 there. And it quickly starts adding up. So you're better off just to jump to that Media Composer Enterprise license that includes all of those things and more. And that's what enables that remote workflow. So you need to have an enterprise client license, you need to have the server and the Nexus, and you're ready to work in that remote production.
And that's great. And I really like this slide, and we will make this slide available on the Broadfield website for all of our dealers that are looking and talking to their customers about deployment of Media Composer. When you look at the perpetual license versus the ultimate subscription, and you see the math of the subscription and how you can, like you said, upgrade with these individual tools or start going to enterprise, where you really have an enterprise workflow solution, where you're using that shared media, shared content, and bringing everyone from your production team able to access those files and or work in a collaborative environment together. Right. And I think that's the real advantage of what Edge gives you, is that collaboration.
Right, and you don't have to think about it.
Exactly. So Nexus Pro Plus is a great shared storage solution when you're talking about a small collaborative team, usually 3 to 4 people. They have access to that storage solution in the same building, on-prem, no problem at all. Now you're talking about more users, even 25 or more. You can upgrade to Nexus Edge, have that capability, and bring that same collaboration on-prem and off. That's great. And next, I want to talk about the Media Composer Enterprise again. Here, once again, we're telling the options. A new license is $12.99, but then they also have cross-grade licenses available.
Yeah, if you want to go from Ultimate to Enterprise, you can do the cross-grade. So, Avid is very much on trying to make sure, hey, if you've already bought something, it's easier for you to get to the thing you want.
Sure.
And then you can cross-grade from a Perpetual to an Enterprise as well.
Absolutely. And another thing, too, to note with these cross grades and upgrades and renewals that we talked about in the beginning, a lot of this is really done to keep the Avid account management as clean as possible also. When you log into your Avid account and you're looking up all the system IDs, the cleaner that environment is, especially when you start getting into centralized management where you're managing multiple users, the better it is for everybody, especially you, the dealer, who now needs to work with your clients to make sure they get their licenses upgraded properly and renewed and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I run into that a lot. Somebody that, they're bad with letting their subscriptions lax, and then they have to get a new one, and suddenly they have, 10 Media Composer subscription licenses that are all expired, but they got to find the one they need to renew so they can renew that, and then they forget to do that anyways.
And then what they'll do inevitably is try to renew the first 9 before they get to the last one. So Glenn, we talked about Nexis Pro Plus, we talked about the Nexis Edge. You alluded to the F series, so we wanted to talk a little bit about that here.
So same thing, Nexis E, the E class, which was the enterprise class, and these are still enterprise class products as well. They've been around for a while. It was time for a refresh. Again, it's not a new version of it. It's again going to AMD based processors, going to faster processors, newer drives, everything else like that. So it's now the F series. It's just the evolution of the Nexis family and the Nexis E family. So it's now the F series. These are really where you start getting into the larger capacities. So these are going to be doing more users, more storage. So you start off with a Nexis F2 at 60 terabytes. So that's the starting point for that. One big change in the Nexis family, in the ECH family, used to be able to get what was called the E2, and you could get that half populated, and you could say, okay, great, I'm going to start with 100 drives, I'm going to add another 100 drives later on and have it 200. That doesn't exist anymore. What you've really got now is you've got the F2, and if you want to grow that, you add an F2 expansion, which is just another unit that now connects to that as an expansion. That's how you grow those units. So that's the F2 and the F2X, which is the F2 expansion. Then you can step up to the F5. The F5 is basically just going to be, for even larger, you're going from 25 gigabit connections to 50 gigabyte connections. You're going all the way up to 1.2 petabytes of total capacity once you start adding everything together. The other product you have is the Nearline, the Nexis F2 Nearline, which is just basically same chassis, just slower drives, not as expensive because they're slower drives. And that's, for people that really want to have a Nearline. Maybe you're archiving a project for 6 months and you don't want to completely move it offline. You move it to the Nearline. There is still, for the time being, SSD, so the Nexis E2 SSD is still out there. Very hard to find those. SSDs have become hard to find. But you will eventually see all the Nexis E series be replaced by the F series equivalents of those. Okay,
great. And remember that Broadfield is your source for all of the Avid software that we spoke about today, including Pro Tools or Sibelius. We're your source for the Nexis Pro Plus, the Nexis Edge. We can help you putting together your quotes when you need to step up to Media Composer Enterprise, when the F-Series Nexuses make sense for your installation as well. So if you have questions about any of your Avid workflows, definitely reach out to the Broadfield sales team, 800-634-5178. We'd be happy to help you. We have access to this guy right here who brings in smoked beer. And we can make sure we answer all of your questions. Definitely give us a call, 800-634-5178, and join us every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next week, cheers.
Cheers.